The year was 1982, and moviegoers had no idea they were about to witness the birth of a legend. Conan the Barbarian wasn't just another fantasy film, it was the movie that launched Arnold Schwarzenegger into superstardom and redefined the sword and sorcery genre forever. But behind those legendary battles, that hypnotic music, and those unforgettable visuals, lies a story even wilder than what appeared on screen. From bizarre script rewrites to dangerous accidents and secrets hidden for decades, here are untold truths about how Conan the Barbarian was forged. Number 1. Conan's 24-minute silence. Silence can be more powerful than any roar, and this film proved it in the most unexpected way. The mighty barbarian doesn't utter a single word until 24 minutes into the movie, creating an almost unbearable tension that kept audiences on the edge of their seats. When he finally speaks, his very first line becomes iconic, and it wasn't even original to the script. The words were borrowed from history itself, making the moment even more powerful. This extended silence was a massive gamble by the filmmakers, but it worked brilliantly, building an incredible mystique around the character. The decision to keep the character silent for so long was actually born out of necessity rather than artistic vision. Producers were genuinely concerned about Arnold's thick Austrian accent potentially alienating American audiences. What started as a worry became one of the film's greatest strengths. Number 2. Stars who almost played Conan. Before the Austrian oak stepped into the role that would define his career, Hollywood had completely different plans for the legendary barbarian. The producer's wish list read like a who's who of action stars, with some truly surprising names being seriously considered for the part. Sylvester Stallone was at the top of their list, fresh off his Rocky success. Charles Bronson, the king of tough guy roles, was also in serious contention. But when Arnold walked into that audition room, his imposing frame, incredible physique, and natural charisma made him the obvious choice and changed cinema history forever. The casting process revealed just how different this film could have been with another leading man. Stallone's interpretation would have brought a grittier, more urban sensibility to the ancient world. Arnold's unique combination of size and presence ultimately won over the filmmakers, proving that sometimes the most unconventional choice becomes the perfect one. Number 3. Arnold's 18-month warrior training. Transforming a bodybuilder into a convincing ancient warrior required more than just muscles. It demanded a complete metamorphosis that pushed human limits. The preparation for this role became legendary in Hollywood circles, setting a new standard for actor dedication that few would ever match. Arnold endured a grueling 18-month training regimen that would have broken lesser men. He mastered horseback riding, learned authentic swordplay techniques, studied martial arts, and took intensive acting lessons. This wasn't just physical preparation, it was a complete reinvention of himself as a performer, turning a champion bodybuilder into a convincing warrior. The training went far beyond what most actors would consider reasonable, but Arnold embraced every challenge with remarkable enthusiasm. Professional swordmasters taught him authentic medieval combat techniques, while riding instructors pushed him to master horseback combat. Number 4. The post-apocalyptic script nobody wanted. The barbarian we know and love almost lived in a completely different world, one that would have shocked fans of Robert E. Howard's original stories. The film's journey to the screen took some truly bizarre turns that nearly derailed the entire project before it even began. Oliver Stone's first draft was absolutely wild, setting our hero in a post-apocalyptic wasteland populated by mutants and futuristic technology. Picture Mad Max meets Conan. It was that strange. Fortunately, cooler heads prevailed, and the script was completely rewritten to embrace the mythic past that made the final film so timeless and authentic. This science fiction approach would have completely changed the film's legacy and cultural impact. The budget for creating futuristic sets and mutant creatures would have been astronomical for the early 1980s. By returning to the mythological roots, the filmmakers created something far more timeless and universally appealing. Number 5. Why they used real swords. Every sword swing in this film carried real weight, literally and figuratively, because the weapons weren't typical Hollywood props. The production made a decision that would affect every single battle scene and add an authenticity that audiences could somehow sense, even if they couldn't quite put their finger on why. The swords were genuine, handcrafted weapons forged by actual blacksmiths using traditional methods. These weren't lightweight foam replicas painted to look metallic. They were heavy, dangerous, and completely authentic pieces of craftsmanship. The actors had to truly master these weapons, adding an extra layer of danger and realism to every fight scene. using real weapons created both incredible authenticity and genuine safety concerns on set. The weight and balance of actual steel swords meant that every choreographed fight had to be perfectly executed. This commitment to realism set a new standard for fantasy films, where audiences could feel the difference that genuine craftsmanship made. Number 6. The vodka-spiked fake blood winter filming brought unexpected challenges that forced the crew to get creative with one of cinema's most essential elements. The fake blood used in battle scenes kept freezing solid in the cold weather, creating a major problem that threatened to derail the entire production schedule. The ingenious solution came from an unlikely source: the craft services table. The crew began mixing the fake blood with vodka to prevent it from freezing, creating a potent cocktail that actors sometimes accidentally swallowed during intense fight scenes. This meant that performers were occasionally getting tipsy while filming some of the movie's most demanding sequences. The alcohol-laced blood created some memorable behind-the-scenes moments as actors dealt with unexpected buzzes between takes. The crew learned to warn newcomers about the spiked stage blood, turning it into one of the production's most talked-about inside jokes. Number 7. The real cults behind Thulsa Doom. The snake-worshipping followers of Thulsa Doom weren't born from pure imagination. They drew inspiration from some of humanity's darkest historical chapters. The filmmakers crafted a cult that felt unnervingly real because it was rooted in actual human behavior patterns that had played out across centuries. Medieval flagellants provided the historical foundation, while 1970s cult leaders like Charles Manson offered contemporary parallels that audiences would unconsciously recognize. This blend of historical and modern cult psychology created followers who seemed both ancient and disturbingly familiar. The writers understood that the most effective fictional cults mirror real-world manipulation tactics. The timing couldn't have been more perfect, as America was still processing the aftermath of Jonestown and other cult tragedies. Audiences felt an instinctive unease watching Thulsa Doom's followers because they recognized the blind devotion from recent headlines. Number 8. Directors who passed on Conan. The director's chair for this epic changed hands more times than anyone expected, with some of Hollywood's biggest names circling the project. Each potential director would have brought a completely different vision to the Barbarian's world, fundamentally altering what audiences eventually saw on screen. Oliver Stone wanted to direct his own script, which would have resulted in a much more political and philosophical interpretation. Ridley Scott was seriously considered and even offered the job, fresh off his success with Alien. The producers even explored the unusual possibility of co-direction, showing just how uncertain they were about the best approach. Eventually, John Milius stepped in and completely reshaped the entire story to match his own unique vision. His background in war films and love of mythological storytelling proved to be exactly what the project needed. Number 9. How Arnold's accent shaped Conan. The mighty barbarian speaks surprisingly little throughout his entire adventure, and this wasn't an accident of editing or storytelling preference. Behind this creative choice lay a very practical concern that shaped one of the character's most memorable traits. Producers were genuinely worried about Arnold's thick Austrian accent, potentially alienating American moviegoers who might struggle to understand him. Rather than risk audience confusion, they made the bold decision to minimize his dialogue entirely. This limitation forced them to tell the story through action, expression, and visual storytelling instead. The reduced dialogue actually made the character more imposing and mysterious than pages of speeches ever could have. Every word Arnold spoke carried extra weight because of its scarcity, proving that sometimes perceived weaknesses can become a project's greatest strengths. Number 10. The death scene that went too far. Director John Milius originally crafted a film that pushed the boundaries of what audiences could stomach, especially in one particular scene that haunted test screenings. His first cut contained levels of brutality that made even hardened film executives uncomfortable, forcing difficult decisions about what could stay. The death of Conan's mother was originally far more graphic and disturbing than what made it to theaters. Even producer Dino De Laurentiis, who had seen his share of violent films, felt that Milius had gone too far with the bloodshed. Toned-down edits became necessary to make the film accessible to broader audiences without losing its primal impact. The final version still packed a punch, but avoided the gratuitous violence that could have turned viewers away, helping the film reach the wide audience it needed to become a cultural phenomenon. Number 11. The horse stunt that injured a stuntman. The battle sequences demanded a level of realism that pushed both human and animal performers to their absolute limits. Horses were deliberately made to trip and fall during combat scenes, creating some of the most authentic-looking warfare ever captured on film, but at a tremendous cost in safety. These dangerous stunts led to terrifying accidents that could have ended careers or worse. One particularly harrowing incident saw a stuntman crash directly into a camera during a mounted charge, showing just how risky these elaborate sequences really were. The production's willingness to accept such risks was typical of early 1980s filmmaking, before modern safety protocols became standard. These sequences helped establish the film's reputation for brutal realism, but they came at a price that modern productions would never accept. Number 12. The accidental palace fire. Sometimes the most spectacular moments in cinema happen completely by accident, and this film's climactic palace destruction is a perfect example. The massive set was designed to burn in a controlled manner, but what audiences see on screen was far from the carefully planned sequence the filmmakers intended. Arnold missed a crucial torch throw during filming, causing the entire palace set to catch fire much earlier than planned. There was absolutely no second chance. The expensive set was gone forever, and whatever the cameras captured in that moment was all they would have. What we see in the final movie is actually the only take of this sequence, captured as the production watched months of construction work go up in flames. The urgency and chaos visible on screen is completely genuine, because everyone knew they were witnessing an unrepeatable moment. Number 13. The real civilizations inside Conan's world. The fictional Hyborian Age wasn't created from thin air. It was carefully crafted by blending elements from multiple real civilizations across history. This cultural mixing created a world that felt both fantastical and strangely familiar, as audiences unconsciously recognized historical elements woven throughout the story. Viking raid tactics mixed with Mongol warfare strategies, while Celtic symbols appeared alongside Mesoamerican architectural designs. The filmmakers studied everything from ancient Roman military formations to medieval European castle construction. The blending of historical cultures created what scholars call strange authenticity, a fictional world that feels more real than pure imagination could create. This attention to historical detail helped audiences believe in a world that never existed but felt like it could have. Number 14. How the iconic score was created. The sweeping orchestral score became as legendary as the film itself, elevating every scene from simple action to mythic grandeur. Composer Basil Poledouris delivered what many consider one of the greatest fantasy scores ever written, creating themes that are instantly recognizable decades later. His booming orchestral arrangements perfectly captured the primal power of the barbarian's world, while adding layers of sophistication that elevated the entire production. The music told its own story, with leitmotifs for different characters and cultures that helped audiences navigate the complex world. The score's influence extended far beyond this single film, inspiring countless fantasy soundtracks that followed. Modern composers still reference Polydorus's work when creating music for epic fantasy films. Number 15. The Atlantis plot that was cut. The eerie underground crypt where our hero discovers his legendary sword held secrets that never made it to the final film. Originally, this mysterious tomb was written as something far more significant than just an ancient burial ground. It was meant to be a remnant of the lost civilization of Atlantis itself. This connection would have tied the story directly to ancient mythologies that audiences knew, adding another layer of legendary depth to the world. The script originally contained references to Atlantean technology and culture, explaining how such an advanced sword ended up buried in a remote tomb. While the references were cut, some of the mystique remained in the final version. The tomb still feels otherworldly and ancient, carrying hints of the lost civilization story that originally inspired it. Number 16. Stuntmen paid to die faster. Death scenes in epic battle sequences can make or break the realism of any war film, but this production discovered an unexpected problem with their stunt performers. Some of the stuntmen began dragging out their dramatic death scenes far longer than necessary, turning quick battle moments into extended theatrical performances. The solution was as practical as it was amusing: pay them extra money to fall down faster and stay down. This created an unusual incentive system where stunt performers earned bonuses for quick, efficient deaths rather than prolonged dramatic moments. This arrangement became a running joke on set, with crew members timing death scenes and cheering for particularly quick falls. The financial incentive solved the problem completely while creating some of the production's most memorable behind-the-scenes moments. Number 17. The contact lenses that unsettled the crew. Creating a truly memorable villain requires more than just great acting. Sometimes it demands a complete physical transformation that unnerves everyone on set. The production team knew that the antagonist needed to be visually striking in ways that would make audiences genuinely uncomfortable. James Earl Jones underwent a dramatic visual makeover that included a flowing wig and striking blue contact lenses that completely changed his natural appearance. These piercing artificial eyes were so unsettling that they made crew members uncomfortable during filming. The blue eyes became one of the character's most memorable features, creating an unforgettable contrast with Jones's deep voice and commanding presence. This visual choice helped establish Thulsa Doom as one of cinema's most iconic villains. Number 18. The sword in the governor's office. Some movie props become mere memorabilia, but one particular weapon from this production would later serve in a very different kind of power role. Arnold kept one of the authentic swords used in filming, and it would eventually find its way into one of America's most important political offices. When Arnold became governor of California, he proudly displayed the sword in his official office as both a conversation piece and a personal symbol. The weapon served as a reminder of the strength, discipline, and determination that had carried him from bodybuilding champion to movie star to political leader. The sword's presence in the governor's office created a unique blend of Hollywood glamour and political power. It represented Arnold's unconventional path to leadership and his willingness to embrace his entertainment background. Number 19. On-set injuries from real swords. Authentic sword fighting with real weapons inevitably leads to genuine injuries, and this production had its share of bloodshed that wasn't part of the script. The commitment to realism meant that accidents were not just possible, but practically inevitable, given the dangerous nature of the stunts. Sandal Bergman suffered a painful injury when she sliced part of her finger during an intense sword fight sequence. Other cast members and stunt performers accumulated their own collection of bruises, cuts, and injuries throughout the filming process. These mishaps served as constant reminders that the battles were as dangerous as they looked on screen. The real injuries added an extra layer of authenticity that couldn't be faked or created through special effects. Cast members wore their scars as badges of honor, proof of their commitment to the production. These accidents became part of the film's legend, showing that everyone involved was willing to bleed for their art. Number 20. How Conan training led Arnold back to Mr. Olympia. Physical preparation for this demanding role had an unexpected side effect that surprised everyone, including Arnold himself. The intensive training regimen designed to create a convincing warrior ended up reigniting his competitive bodybuilding instincts in ways nobody anticipated. Arnold's preparation awakened his desire to compete again at the highest levels of bodybuilding, leading to a surprise return to the sport. He made a controversial comeback and won the 1980 Mr. Olympia competition, shocking the bodybuilding world that thought he had retired permanently. Many competitors felt he had an unfair advantage due to his film training and celebrity status. This victory proved that his movie preparation had actually improved his physique beyond his previous competitive peak. The combination of acting training and physical conditioning created a new version of the champion. His dual success in both entertainment and competition showed that he could excel in multiple demanding fields simultaneously. Number 21. How Jones and Von Sydow coached Arnold on set. Transitioning from competitive bodybuilding to leading man status required more than just physical presence. It demanded mastering an entirely different set of skills. The production recognized that their star would need serious help developing the acting abilities necessary to carry a major motion picture. Two legendary actors stepped up to provide quiet, informal coaching that would prove invaluable to the film's success. James Earl Jones and Max von Sydow, both seasoned professionals with decades of experience, took it upon themselves to guide Arnold through the complexities of screen acting. This behind-the-scenes coaching proved crucial to Arnold's later success in Hollywood, providing him with fundamental skills that would serve his entire career. The generosity of these established stars in sharing their knowledge created a supportive environment that benefited the entire production. Number 22. The rights battle that nearly killed production. Even before cameras started rolling, the production faced a legal battle that could have shut down the entire project permanently. Robert E. Howard's estate wasn't satisfied with how the film rights were being handled, creating a tense situation that threatened to derail years of preparation and millions of dollars in investment. The estate's concerns about rights management led to serious legal challenges that nearly stopped the film before filming could begin. Lawyers worked frantically behind the scenes to resolve disputes about character usage, story elements, and profit-sharing arrangements. Eventually, agreements were reached that satisfied all parties and allowed filming to proceed as planned. The legal resolution cleared the way for what would become a landmark film, but the early disputes showed how complicated intellectual property issues could become. Number 23. The four-film saga that never happened. The Barbarian's cinematic journey was originally envisioned as something much grander than a single film or even a simple sequel. Studio executives had ambitious plans for an epic four-movie series that would have chronicled the character's entire legendary life, from young warrior to aging king. The first film's success seemed to validate this expansive vision, but the sequel, Conan the Destroyer, failed to meet expectations both critically and commercially. This disappointing performance killed studio enthusiasm for the remaining planned installments, leaving fans with only 2 films instead of the promised epic saga. The abandoned sequels would have explored different aspects of the character's mythology and taken him through various stages of his legendary career. This cautionary tale reminded Hollywood that successful franchises require consistent quality, not just popular characters. Number 24. How Conan shaped modern fantasy films. The impact of this film extended far beyond its own success, fundamentally changing how fantasy stories would be told on screen for decades to come. Its unique combination of brutal realism and mythic storytelling created a new template that countless productions would follow and adapt to their own needs. The film's blend of visceral combat with epic mythology directly influenced everything from Game of Thrones to modern fantasy epics that dominate today's entertainment landscape. Its visual style, from costume design to architectural choices, established aesthetic standards that are still referenced by contemporary filmmakers. Modern fantasy productions continue to draw inspiration from the film's approach to world-building and character development. The influence can be seen in everything from television series to video games that embrace similar themes of power, destiny, and survival. Number 25. The King Conan film that never got made. For years after the original films, fans held on to hope for one final adventure that would bring closure to the Barbarian's legendary story. The Legend of Conan was repeatedly announced and promised, with Arnold expressing genuine interest in returning to play an older, wiser version of his most iconic character. Multiple scripts were written, directors were attached, and announcements were made that seemed to confirm the project was finally moving forward. The proposed film would have shown the character as an aging king reflecting on his violent past while facing new challenges. Despite all the development work and fan excitement, the project never materialized into an actual production. This unfulfilled promise became one of Hollywood's most famous what-if stories, leaving fans wondering what could have been. The failure to complete this final chapter robbed audiences of a proper conclusion to one of cinema's most beloved characters. Arnold's advancing age eventually made the project impossible, closing the door forever on this particular dream. Conan the Barbarian wasn't just made, it was battled into existence through sheer determination and countless obstacles. From dangerous stunts with real weapons to legal battles that nearly killed the project, every aspect was as epic as the story itself. What emerged was something truly special, a movie that launched Arnold into superstardom while creating a new template for fantasy cinema. From alcohol-laced fake blood to the palace fire that burned down the set, every behind-the-scenes story reveals incredible commitment to creating something unforgettable. If you enjoyed discovering these hidden secrets, don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible stories. Which of these secrets shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments below.